verify adequate shutdown margin as follows. All control and shutdown rods fully inserted.
At the Catawba nuclear station just outside Charlotte, North Carolina, each nuclear operator spends a full week every 5 weeks training for the worst.
This plant was designed to respond to hurricane forces, tornadoes, earthquakes.
Inside a simulator, instructors stage accidents such as a core breach and test the engineer's ability to prevent a wider catastrophe.
We are following the developments in Japan very closely, and we have strategies to cope with that scenario.
And they have to. Around the country, of 104 nuclear reactors in some 31 states, at least a dozen, including Catawba, are in areas of moderate to high risk of earthquake. In Japan, a tsunami was the knockout blow, and 14 U.S. plants face some risk of tsunami or tidal surge resulting from tsunami. Most worrisome of them are the plants such as Indian Point, just 24 miles from New York City, located nearby major urban centers.
It turns out one of the reactors most susceptible to earthquake damage in the country is actually in New York.
If something did happen, the plan only calls for a 10-mile evacuation around Indian Point. About 450,000 people would have to get away. But in Japan, the White House has advised Americans to stay 50 miles away from the Fukushima Daiichi plant. If that same standard was applied to Indian Point, all of New York City would need to be evacuated.
I'm Clayton Sandell in California. Right now we're over the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station. It's one of the largest in the country. It's built to withstand a 7.0 quake, but as you can see, it's right on the beach. Plus, it's right next to a major freeway. Los Angeles and San Diego are very close by. In fact, 7 million people live within 50 miles of where we are right now.
Nuclear plants are required to withstand a range of events: earthquakes, floods, fires, up to a certain size and intensity, so-called design basis events. But the Japanese quake has been an education in the danger of the unanticipated. Peter Bradford is a former commissioner of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
The notion of fail-safe, just a false idea.
People are seeing on their screens repeated examples of an event that was more or less thought to be impossible.
For the White House, the timing is at best politically uncomfortable. Just a month before the accident, the Obama administration proposed $36 billion in loan guarantees to jumpstart as many as 20 new nuclear power plants, selling nuclear as affordable, clean energy. Some lawmakers are now putting pressure on the White House to abandon the plan and, more broadly, calling for a comprehensive safety review of all the nation's nuclear plants.
If we don't do a reevaluation of our plants in light of what happened in Japan, then shame on us. It is our highest responsibility to protect the health and the safety of the American people.
So are American cities, is the country prepared for an accident today? George Forsman served as Undersecretary for Preparedness in the Bush administration.
What I'm not sure that we've developed the capacity for is to ensure that we've got sufficient flexibility to deal with an unanticipated series of events. You've got to have flexibility and agility.
And you don't see that.
I don't see that.
This week, the Nuclear Energy Institute demanded its members, in effect, become more flexible and test their readiness outside the risks they were designed for. Bigger fires, bigger floods, bigger earthquakes. The goal, to become safer. But fail safe? After Japan, it's a phrase with a very different meaning. For this week, Jim Sciutto, ABC News, Washington.